They say every home has secrets, but mine screamed them through cracked walls and slammed doors. I learned early that silence was safer than truth, that pretending not to hear my father's rage was the only way to stay invisible. What if your first lullaby was the sound of bottles shattering against the floor? What if the only warmth you knew came from the flame of a lighter under a spoon? I used to count the seconds between their fights, whispering numbers in the dark like it was a prayer. Love wasn't gentle in our house. It bled and bruised and begged for another chance. I was 8 the night I realized monsters don't hide under beds. They sit at the kitchen table, calling each other baby. Sometimes I wonder, if pain is all you've ever known, how do you recognize peace when it finally comes? That morning, I tried pretending it was just another day. The house smelled of smoke and spilled beer, and the sun cut through the curtains like it was angry too. I made cereal in silence, careful not to wake him. Mom's eyes met mine for a second, red and lost, like she was asking me to understand something no child should ever have to. I didn't hate them then. I just didn't know how to love people who hurt me this much. School was the only place that didn't smell like regret. But even there, I learned to fake smiles, to say, "I'm fine," when the teacher asked why I was so quiet. I drew pictures of happy families with stick figures and bright suns, but mine always had cracks somewhere, like I couldn't forget what broken looked like. Every night, I promised myself tomorrow would be different. That maybe Dad wouldn't drink, that maybe Mom would smile for real. But hope was dangerous. It made the crash worse when it never came. That night, I hid my rabbit under my pillow like it could protect me. Mom kissed my forehead and whispered, "It's not your fault." But the way she said it sounded like she didn't believe it either. Outside, the wind howled through the cracks in the walls, carrying every secret this house refused to bury. By the time I turned 12, I'd already learned the art of pretending. I could smile through bruises, lie without blinking, and make my voice sound normal when teachers asked if everything was okay. I thought if I looked fine long enough, maybe I'd start to believe it. But every mirror told the truth. A quiet girl trapped between fear and loyalty. I wore normal like a mask, and every morning it got heavier to hold. At school, I became whoever people needed me to be. The funny one, the quiet one, the one who didn't ask for help. It was easier to disappear than to explain. Because how do you tell someone your dad's anger is louder than your heartbeat? Or that your mom's hugs smell like pills and perfume and goodbye? Home was quieter now, but not calmer. Mom slept most days. Dad worked when he could. I kept to my room, listening to music through cheap headphones just to drown out the sound of them, fighting about things I didn't understand. Sometimes, I imagined packing a bag and walking away. But where do you go when nowhere feels safe? One afternoon, my teacher pulled me aside. She asked if I was okay, really okay. I wanted to say yes, but the words got stuck. Her eyes were kind, and for a moment I almost told her everything. But then I thought about Dad's anger, about Mom's trembling hands, and I swallowed my truth like poison. That night, Dad came home angry, smelling like gasoline and whiskey. Mom tried to calm him, but I knew what was coming. I hid in my room, holding my stuffed rabbit, the same one from when I was little, now torn and threadbare. I thought if I stayed still enough, maybe the storm would pass without finding me, but it always did. By 16, I swore I'd never be like them. But pain has a way of finding you, even when you run fast. The first time I got high, it wasn't about fun. It was about silence. For once, my head stopped screaming. For once, I felt nothing, and nothing felt like peace. I told myself it was just one time, but one time became every weekend, every night, every reason to forget who I was. Soon, I wasn't the quiet girl anymore. I was the one who didn't care. Parties, drinks, strangers, they were my new hiding places. Every laugh was borrowed. Every smile was fake. But when the music stopped and everyone went home, the silence was louder than ever. I used to think I was escaping my parents' world, but I was building my own version of it. At home, Mom had started talking to herself. Dad came and went like a storm you never see coming. The night I found her passed out on the floor, I didn't cry. I just stepped over her and went to my room. That's when I knew I was becoming them. Cold, numb, gone. I dropped out of school that year. Said I was tired. But really, I just couldn't pretend anymore. The streets became my new classroom. Learning how to survive, how to numb, how to disappear. Somewhere between one high and the next, I stopped recognizing my reflection. I didn't see Lena anymore. Just another lost face in a crowd of ghosts. The last time I saw Dad before everything fell apart, he told me I was just like him. His words weren't angry. They were proud. That scared me more than anything. I walked out that night and didn't look back. But the thing about running from ghosts is they always find a way to catch up. I thought rock bottom was something you hit once, but it's not. It's a place you learn to live in. By 19, I was couch hopping, chasing highs that never lasted. Nights blurred into mornings and mornings into guilt. I'd stare at the ceiling, wondering if my parents ever felt this same kind of nothing. The silence inside me was louder than their screams ever were. There was one night I'll never forget. Sirens in the distance, rain hitting the pavement, my body cold and shaking. I'd gone too far. The world spun, and my heart slowed until it almost stopped. I remember thinking, maybe this is how it ends. Maybe this is how I disappear. But somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispered, "Not yet." Waking up in the hospital felt like being reborn into pain. My veins burned, my throat was dry. My mother was there, eyes swollen, hands shaking, whispering my name like she couldn't believe I was real. For the first time, I saw her not as the woman who failed me, but as someone who never stopped drowning. They told me I needed rehab. I laughed at first. I didn't belong there, I said. But when I looked at myself in the mirror, I saw the truth. I had my father's eyes, my mother's exhaustion, and a stranger's reflection. Maybe getting clean wasn't about saving myself. Maybe it was about ending the story before it repeated again. Dad didn't visit me. Mom came once more before disappearing again. But I didn't hate them anymore. I understood now. They were sick long before I ever was. And maybe, just maybe, I could be the one to stop it. So when the counselor asked if I wanted help, I said yes. For the first time, I meant it. Rehab wasn't what I expected. It wasn't soft or forgiving. It was mirrors and memories. All the things I'd spent years trying to hide. The shakes, the sweats, the dreams that felt too real. I thought I'd die there, but every day I didn't became proof that I could live. And then there was Aiden. He didn't talk like the others. He didn't promise easy answers. He just listened. And for the first time, I felt seen. At night, the cravings came like waves, fierce and endless. Aiden told me to ride them, not fight them. Pain passes, he said. So does the need to escape it. I didn't believe him at first, but one night, shaking on the floor of my room, I whispered to myself, "It'll pass." And somehow, it did. Some days I hated everyone. The staff, the other patients, myself most of all. But then I'd see a small change, a moment of laughter, a spark of peace in someone else's eyes, and I'd remember why I was here. We were all broken in different ways, but in that room, our cracks fit together. Weeks passed. I started writing again. Small things, memories, words I was afraid to say out loud. Aiden said stories could heal what drugs once silenced. I wrote about my parents, not to blame them, but to understand. I realized love doesn't always look like kindness. Sometimes it's just survival in disguise. The day I walked out of rehab, the air felt different, lighter, like it forgave me. Aiden handed me a folded piece of paper. "Read this when it gets hard," he said. I still haven't opened it. Maybe because I already know what it says. Maybe because for the first time, I don't need saving. Recovery isn't a straight line. It's a circle that drags you back to where you began and dares you to walk forward again. The first few months out felt strange. The world hadn't changed. I saw liquor stores like old friends I shouldn't visit, corners that whispered my name. Every step sober felt like rebellion. Every breath, a small victory no one else could see. I started working at a diner. It wasn't glamorous, but it kept my hands busy and my head quiet. Some nights I'd wipe the same counter just to feel the rhythm of something steady. I'd see people come in drunk, laughing, loud, and instead of envy, I felt pity. They didn't know how good it felt to wake up sober. Mom called one night. Her voice cracked like glass. She said Dad was gone. A heart attack in his sleep. I didn't cry. I just sat there, phone in hand, listening to the silence that followed. For years I'd hated him, but in that moment, I only felt sorry. Because I finally understood. He wasn't a monster. He was a man who never learned how to stop his pain from spilling onto everyone he loved. After the funeral, I saw Mom for the first time in years. She looked smaller, softer, like someone who had finally run out of ways to fight herself. We didn't talk about the past. We just sat on the porch, letting the quiet fill what words never could. In her eyes, I saw the same tired hope I carried. Maybe it wasn't too late for either of us. I didn't forgive overnight, but I started trying, one memory at a time. Some nights, I still heard echoes of the past, but they didn't break me anymore. I realized forgiveness wasn't about forgetting what they did. It was about freeing myself from it, and that freedom felt like breathing for the first time. Years later, I drove back to the house I once called home. The road felt shorter than I remembered, the trees thinner, the ghosts quiet. The windows were boarded now, the paint chipped and pale. Like it had been waiting for me to say goodbye, I parked outside and just sat there, hands shaking, heart steady. This was where I was made and where I almost disappeared. I walked through the front door and the air smelled of dust and time. My footsteps echoed on the same cracked floor I used to crawl across, hiding from the noise. There were no screams now, no slamming doors, just silence. I realized the house hadn't been haunted all these years. I had. Mom's been sober 3 years now. She writes me letters sometimes, short, simple ones that always end with, "I love you." I keep them all in a box by my bed. Aiden still checks in every few months, reminding me I'm proof that pain doesn't have to define you. Sometimes I look at my reflection and realize I finally look like someone worth forgiving. I still visit the rehab center sometimes. New faces, same stories. All of us trying to break something we didn't start. I tell them it's not about being perfect. It's about being honest, even when it hurts. Healing isn't pretty. It's raw, messy, and real. But it's worth it. Every single day. Sometimes I visit Dad's grave. I bring him coffee, the way he used to make it. Too strong and too bitter. I tell him about Mom, about Aiden, about me. And then I say the words I used to be afraid of. I forgive you. Because forgiveness isn't letting go of the past. It's choosing not to live there anymore. I leave the cup, take a breath, and walk away. Not as the girl who survived, but as the woman who finally lived.